Hello, guys. I'm your host, Sarah Thomas, and I'm so excited you tuned in to Fit Girl Talk Radio, as always. Um, if you're listening on a podcast platform, welcome. I'm glad you're tuning in, but hop over to YouTube and catch the real video of this interview of our lovely guest today. I have on Grace Leon today, and Grace is somebody I had on last May. And like I've said recently with my guests that are returning for a second interview, if you want to hear Grace's whole story about her health and fitness journey, her life, where she started, where she is now, how she got there, all that good stuff, hop over to our previous episode we did in May on a podcast platform. And we talked all things internal resetting and aiding your body in detoxification. So it's actually a really good episode. We talked a lot about a healthy way to detox, what that even means, and why Grace doesn't really like to call it a detox. So we talked about all of that stuff. So hop over to that episode. Today, we are going to talk all things Ayurveda, which we briefly touched on last episode, but it requires an episode for itself. So before we dive into that, Grace, hello, welcome. Thank you for coming back.
Hi,
Yes,
thank you for having me.
tell us what's been going on since May.
So since May, I know I've still been on this kind of journey of slowing down and tapping into my intuition and with all things like holistic wellness, just like really taking a very intuitive approach. Last time we talked about bikini competitions and having this, now I've been into energy. So like that very masculine energy, like go do all the work. And I've really been trying to tap into my feminine energy and like just slow down and take a more intuitive approach. And it's definitely had its ups and its downs, but I feel like I've just really been able to get deeper into some hormone stuff that I've been going on, like take it with my clients, with my yoga classes, and just like I think with COVID and all of this happening, like a lot of us have really been forced to slow down, and I've been trying to make the most out of it and just take the notes that the universe is giving me and try and move forward.
So I want to talk about that for a second because personally, that resonates with me on a personal level. And w- I want you to maybe discuss briefly some of the struggles that you've gone through with trying to slow down. And because I also phasing out of the competition, macro tracking, strict workouts, like phasing out of that into more health holistic as well. Like I feel like you're all like a year and a half ahead of me on our whole schedule of like competing and everything. And some days it feels really hard and it feels like you're not doing enough. And it feels like you might be going
Yes.
backwards in some ways.
hmm
So how have you dealt with that?
So yeah, I feel like before this, like living in that competition, the lifestyle, there's always something to do, and there's always something that your mind is on. You're either at the gym, you're either meal prepping. Even out of that, like there's always that. And then with COVID, it was like everything kind of stopped. So like these things, these emotions, and these feelings that quick plug. I recently listened to this podcast and read this book called Burnout. Have you ever heard of it?
No, but I think you
I
shared
don't
some stuff
remember
about
that.
this.
I might have. It's really, really good. Highly recommend that. But so we have these stress cycles, and basically I think a lot of, especially as females, is that we're kind of always told to like kind of put on this face like everything's okay, like we can do it all. And like especially with COVID, like when you start to have that downtime, all of that arises. So all of those emotions, like especially like really with my hormones, it felt like all my like I really started to notice like, wow, I have really bad, like my hormones are not regular, like I have really bad PMS. And it was like, I've never dealt with that because I've been so busy doing other little things. And like, oh, like when I got this Aura ring, like, oh, my sleep really is not that good. And it was like just kind of taking into, health and wellness is more than just eating well and working out. It's your sleep, it's your emotions, um, it's all of those things. It's your stressors and how you kind of deal with life. And I think what COVID did is forced me to kind of like take a look at all those other aspects and get those in alignment with where I want to be. And I think for so many people out there, and like for my clients a lot, like they just come to me for like personal training, and then it's like we have to kind of dig deep and go through other areas of their life, like where they're struggling, to make it like a whole well-being package.
Yes. So also I want to say this is so weird because I think I said this on the last episode, but Grace, I met Grace at a photo shoot thing we did I don't know, like a year ago or something. And um we like grew up 2 streets away from each other and I never knew that.
Crazy.
So random. And then like like a few months after our photo shoot, I was like on a walk and she like drove by and I was like, "What are you doing over here?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "My parents live here." I was like, "So do mine." So that was weird. And then I also like saw something on your Instagram or something. We have the same like tattoo in like on our wrist, I think.
Yeah, our own tattoo.
Yeah, which is, kind of cliche, but we both have it on our wrist.
But yeah, that's yeah.
And also I was just noticing this is so weird, but I have the same pen that you have right now. Isn't that like so random?
Okay, that's so like, see, I like, why would we both have this pen?
That's
So
really
weird.
weird. So I feel like I don't know.
Like the
None of it
universe is like telling us like you guys
connects.
clearly like connect. Yeah,
Yes.
I
So
believe in that
that's
100%.
so weird. And like I said, your journey is a little bit ahead of mine and you inspire me and you motivate me to
Oh,
kind of like hone in on all of that stuff because it is hard. And I go through a lot of times right now with my fitness and health that, I'm not tracking. So I don't feel like I'm doing enough. But I'm also at a place where I don't want to lose weight or change my physique anymore personally. So like I have to like set that in my mind every day, like, it's okay.
mhm.
Like, you don't
Yeah.
need to be cutting, you don't need to be weighing yourself,
Yeah.
like, so that's really hard, and watching people shift out of that into the more health focus, holistic focus is where I'm headed. I've COVID has definitely pushed me into that a lot this year. I've learned a lot, researched a lot, which is why I'm super excited to have you on today to talk about Ayurveda because last time when we talked about it, I don't know if I had ever heard of it before, or not.
Yeah.
And after our episode, I really did start doing a little bit of research. I like sat down for a couple of nights and I was like, this is awesome. I can't wait to learn more about this.
Mhm.
And after a couple nights, I was like, wow, this is a lot. Like, this is a whole new,
Yes.
it's I'll let you talk about what it is, but it's a lot. And I'm the kind of person that if I want to start taking in something, I want to do it fully. I want to learn it all. I want to understand it all. Like,
Yeah.
and at the time, I was like, I don't have time for this. And this is not what I need to be doing right now.
Yes.
So
It's
I
a
have
lot.
questions and I'm excited to learn from you a little
Yeah.
bit about it. So tell us a little bit about how your journey with Ayurveda is and kind of where you're
Yeah.
at, I guess.
So I was kind of introduced to it when I started doing yoga. So yoga and Ayurveda, they're like developed like a parallel with each other, like during the ancient times. So they kind of consider Ayurveda like the sister science of yoga. And what Ayurveda does is it's a makeup of all of these elements, and it kind of helps us to understand the effects of like nature and on the human body, and like we see that relationship with yoga and with Ayurveda. And so Ayurveda is kind of like, it's almost like a way of life. And there's three within Ayurveda, there's three different doshas. So we have these three, we are all made up of these three doshas: vata, pitta, kapha. We all have them in us, but each of us are usually, we have our, let me see if I can remember this, our Vrakriti and our Prakriti. Our Vrakriti is like what we're born, our dosha that we're like mostly born with. Our Prakriti is like, if you become a bikini competitor, you start to become more Vata just because of the lifestyle you live. So, and with the seasons, like you change, but we are usually have a predominantly dosha, a predominant of like one or two doshas. Most people are not balanced tridoshas. And so what happens though, especially in the United States, where mostly all pittas, what happens is we raise up like a one dosha and it starts to become super imbalanced. And that's when you have different health issues, different mindset issues, whatever. So what you have to do is you do have to get in tune with your body, because you have to understand what type of person you are. It's not just about how you look. It's also about like how you feel, how you digest food. Like other things go into it. It's not just like, oh, a Vata person is skinny. Like, no, a Vata person has dry skin. A Vata person likes the light. A Vata person is like talks really fast. So like things of that sort. There's like little features within each dosha, and like there's a million. I would recommend, like, if you want to learn, like there's millions of different like little tests you can do. You can go online and like learn about those more.
Yes. So, when I was doing a little bit of research before this
Hmm.
call, this Ayurveda is basically, I read something that I liked. It was, it translates to the knowledge of life.
Yes.
And so basically, is this, where did this like originate? Do you even know? Like,
So I think it just originated when I like back with yoga. So there's no like
okay.
one time, because yoga is also very like gray area. But somewhere over in India, I would
Yes. So
say.
it's from that way, and it's been around for
Yes.
a very, very long time.
Hmm.
And I also read, which I liked, and I wrote it down, that basically the concept of it is that your health and wellness is dependent on a delicate balance between mind, body, and spirit. And I think that's interesting because, like we all hear that stuff, and you know it, right? But to understand that there are some cultures that when you look at medicine and healing and therapy and things like that, that it comes from all three elements. And I don't think that our civilization really does that enough when you talk about mind, body, and spirit. Now, I think that there's a lot of light being shed on that in the last few years with like mental health, and which I think is your mind and
Yes.
your spirit. And I think that that's starting to come into play more for us as a society. But that's a lot of internal work you need to do, and understanding yourself, like you said, that really your doctor can't do for you. So I thought that was interesting. Yes.
Yeah. It's super interesting, because I feel like with this you can just like, if you read about each of the doshas and you read about the balances and the imbalance, and you like, for me, like I'm mostly pitta, and I when I read about the pitta imbalances and what I had to do, it made so much sense, because like you're probably pitta too, and like we like to be on the go, everything, we like our neat little schedule. But
Mhm.
where we like spicy food, we like warm food, but like when we have too much pitta, we have too much fire is what it is. It's fire. Pitta is made up of fire and water, and we have too much of those elements. You start to get indigestion, you start to have sleep problems, you start to have digestive issues. And you just like, when I was like, and you read about those and you're like, oh my. And
Yeah.
then you read about how the pit balances, you stop working out so much, you stop doing hit cardio every day, you start, scheduling out your meals and sitting down and not eating as much spicy food. And like when you start doing that, then you feel better, instead of like going to the doctor and they just give you like a indigestion, like tell you to take some Tums or something, where
Right.
it's like, in that reality, I feel like, yes, we need Western medicine, but I think that so many people just take it and they just mask instead of getting to the root of the problem. I think with Ayurveda, you can get to the root of the problem. It's going to take time, but you can do it.
Absolutely. So like I said, I hopped online the few nights after we talked, and I was like, I want to figure out
Mhm.
what my doshas are because I
Yeah.
have it. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna be upfront and honest here. I took like 5 different tests from like different things, and they all were different, and they some of the stuff was me. Like some of the things I was reading, like totally me. And then some of the other stuff, totally not me. So obviously there's not
Yeah.
going to be like 100% like what I am. But I'm probably catching you off guard with this question, but do you have like anything, like a specific test that you recommend that you resonated to?
So honestly, I went to a Ayurvedic practitioner,
Oh,
and it like, so that's the thing about, and because you are made up of all the doshas, you will have little areas like within each of them. um so it's hard to like, there's
yes.
like, yeah, it's so hard. There was one, I can't let me think about it, because there's one, I think it's like Bayan Botanicals, or something with a B, botanicals, and
Mm,
they are a whole site that's like dedicated to, and we
okay.
can look it up after to find the exact, but I think they have a pretty decent test. And like I said, like I am very pitta vata, like pretty those two together. But I do have some kapha tendencies, and like, and now in this kind of season, like in this winter season, like this is kind of a kapha season that we're in. So everybody's going to start to have a little bit more
Gotcha.
kapha, just because it's the cold, and that's just like the way that you start to move. Um,
Got it.
so yeah.
So there are specialists that you can find, like, did you actually go in
Yes.
person or
And
did you do virtual?
so it was when I was in Bali
Oh,
during my teacher training. And so he like taught us, and then he's like, if you guys want to set up a session, like you can set up a session.
yes.
Um, so you can, I know, like I don't know about, there's has to be some like all right. There's obviously Ayurvedic practitioners all around. So just like
Yes.
Google an Ayurvedic practitioner and just see, because that's, if you really want to know like your true Prakriti and Prakriti, like they're going to give you, because they'll ask you a question and then you'll answer, and then they'll dive deeper into that question. Where if it's just a quiz, it's just like, and it also has to do with your parents as well, because they're going to play a part. Yeah, so your parents too, like they'll talk about your parents and like
Yeah.
your siblings, if you have siblings, and that can play a part into your dosha as well.
Interesting. So I was also researching that Ayurvedic medicine is that there are actual schools in the United States where you can go and become like actually certified, like state certified.
Yeah, so I've been looking into that, and yeah, I mean, so I'm between that and like just like holistic wellness. I think I'll probably start with like holistic wellness coaching and then get into Ayurveda, because just like, so I feel like so many people, like if they're Googling for a holistic wealth coach, a lot of people aren't familiar with Ayurveda. So it's hard to
Right.
like, but I think I always will bring it into some sort of, even if I'm not certified, it's some sort, bring it into
Yeah.
my sessions.
I wonder, have you like how long is that schooling? How did you even know? I didn't look into
And
actually
I
how
think they're maybe 6 months to a year,
okay.
just depending. I think it's pretty similar to like a health, I think. But then there's even more advanced, because some people say they have like doctorates in Ayurveda or something.
Wow.
But like again, like the more that you learn Ayurveda, like it's almost like the harder that it gets, because it's just like more information comes up and it's like imbalance, out of balance, blah 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 blah. And you're just like, ah,
I know, it's
but
like
it's
when
I love it.
yeah, when I started researching it, I was like, I don't have time for this right now. Like I can't like separate all of this into like how I can, like I
I
want to
have
take
hold on.
notes and like
Yeah, okay. This is a book that I first started with. And I really, really, really like this one. It's called Practical. Wait,
oh
is it? Yeah,
yes.
Practical Ayurveda.
Oh,
And I ordered it off Amazon. And I feel like this one gives you a really, really nice place to start with Ayurveda, just because it's a very easy read, and I feel like it gives you a lot to kind of just take in, and it's not so overwhelming. I feel like sometimes you can get in that rabbit hole down the internet and you
yeah.
have like 12 tabs pulled up and you're like, okay, I can't do it
Yes.
anymore.
And then you like, you start to like list like read some stuff from one person and then you like might like contradict something else that you read and you're like you want to pick like one, like when you like start a health or fitness routine, you need to pick one and
Yeah, and try that and see if it
try
works.
that. So yeah, I was kind of getting all over the place with that. But
Yeah.
okay, so you are very familiar with what doshas you are. So I just want to briefly touch on how you apply that to, I know you talked a little bit, but like how you apply
Yeah.
that to how that affects your diet, exercise, and healing. And I know that for people listening and myself included, that it's not going to really relate to you personally, but you can get an idea of how it can actually help improve all of these elements of your life and how you may be working really hard to think that your diet and exercise is the right thing for you, and then might not be seeing results, and maybe this is something why.
Yeah.
So tell us
Um,
about yours.
so yeah, I am mostly Pitta and Vata. So Pitta is fire and water. And so basically, like, think of those elements, think of fire and water, like a lot of heat, but that it can easily be put out. So body frame is kind of like a muscular medium build. You can easily gain or lose weight. Skin can be like oily, likes the sun. You want, and when you are that dosha, like you usually want more. So that's why like I like spicy food. Like I have an intense appetite. Like I can eat a good meal. Like I, by no means do I skip meals. That doesn't happen. Like pretty driven. Likes to kind of like always be on the go. Doesn't like to slow down.
Which I
Um,
could see why if you're Pitta, why you can, like, become too Pitta, like, you
Competitive,
know?
intense, and
Yeah.
the US American culture in general is a pit culture. Everyone is very intense, everyone is very goal driven. Um, so what I had to do is like when I was starting to have some just like digestive issues and some hormone issues, it was because I had too much pitta in me. So when I talked about last time with like that detox and kind of slowing down, like I had to had incorporate more kapha, and kapha is going to be your, is it like water and earth maybe? But so it's more about slowing down, taking a step back. So that's when I got into yin yoga. I started to really get like sleep more because I needed more sleep. Like going on walks instead of doing like all that hit cardio, eating less like spicy foods and more like cooling foods. So cooling foods are going to be like just like your lighter vegetables like cucumbers and carrots and like fresh kind of salads, like not a lot of like heavy dense foods because that is like going to slow. So we have, so all of us have something called agni, which is our like digestive fire. And if you're if like depending on your dosha, if you're eating too much of like the dosha that brings that dosha up, then your agni will go out, and that's when you'll start to develop different digestive issues. So things like you can do like Ayurvedic things that they say for everyone to do is like you should be drinking like regular, like not cold water, because cold water is going to put that agni out. Same thing like with smoothies, you should be careful with, because again, like, so you have to think like when things go into your digestive system, you, it's really warm in there and you have that fire. So if you put something really cold into there, like a lot, like ice water, you're just continuing to like put that fire out, and so it's harder on your digestive system to help with, or to like start to break down that food. Tongue scraping is something that I've been really into. I love it. Oil pulling, and then they have like a self massage, and that those are just typical like Ayurvedic rituals that are good for any dosha. Um,
So I started some of these things, after I started
yeah.
my research, back in the summer with you. So I'm curious, what oil do you use for oil pulling?
So I use sesame,
Okay.
sometimes coconut. Those are the two. What
So
what dosha do you think you are,
honestly, I
or
can't
did you?
even. I did not like even write that down or move forward with that. I just decided that I was going to start with some of
I
the
think
practices, like just like you said. So I started with oil pulling, tongue scraping. That's kind of where like my journey stopped,
yeah.
but I'm still doing them. So I read the different oils recommended for oil pulling. So okay, if you're listening and you don't know what oil pulling is, basically, first thing in the morning. Why don't you tell us what it is? Because I'm no expert.
So basically what oil pulling is you take an oil, like usually they have different recommendations like coconut, sesame, there's a few other ones, and you put it in your mouth and you just like swish it around in your mouth. And what it does is it helps your teeth first of all, but then it pulls toxins from the rest of your body. So then after like start with 5 minutes and then work your way up to like 15 to 20 minutes, and then spit the oil out in the trash can, not in the sink. Um, and then brush your teeth. And basically what that it says to do again is to help pull out like any toxins. And that's like after you do your tongue scraping. Um, and I notice a difference if I do it regularly, but I
Yes.
have to do it regularly.
Yes, and I do too. And so I bought this Ayurvedic oil pulling thing off Amazon. It
Yeah.
was like a
Yeah.
certain brand. Loved it because it was like all I read sesame oil, sunflower oil, coconut, and peppermint. And I was like, well, I don't know what to start with. So this that I found, I really liked because it was all four. And I
Oh,
like the
that's awesome.
peppermint. Yeah, I like the peppermint oil in it because as a newbie starting it, having that peppermint made it a little bit less like gross, I think, like in
Weird.
my mind. Now
Yeah,
though, I can just do it with coconut oil and it doesn't
I
bother me.
know.
But
Now
I
I
think it's a
literally
good
just take
place
a
to start. Yes.
tablespoon of coconut
Yes.
oil. It's so gross to think about, but then like it just goes down and you switch it around. When you first started, I was like, oh, this is so
My
gross. But
very
like,
first time, I was like, "This is kinda gross, I need to buy something," and so that was a really good place to start, and yeah, so now I just take a tablespoon out and, let it melt and, like, swish it around, what was I gonna say about that? but yeah, if I get like right now, for example, I didn't do it at all this week. And so now I feel like, it's really easy to be like, well, I don't need to do that. But when I was doing it regularly, like I really do like it. So I'm gonna like get it back in my, I have to like have it in the bathroom and like think about it
Hmm.
first thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really do like it though. And I did notice some differences. Like for some reason, when I brush my teeth, I've had like my gums will bleed a little bit, like nothing alarming. Like
Hmm.
my dentist said it's fine. But when I started doing that, I'm not kidding, like the very first day. And then every day that I used the oil, my gums did not bleed. So I was like, well, that in itself is a good sign to me. So yeah. Anyways, you guys, I know that I could talk to Grace forever about this kind of stuff because it fascinates me. And if you're interested in any of this stuff, follow her mind body underscore
Right.
Grace
Yeah, underscore Grace. That's it.
on Instagram because she's always sharing all kinds of good stuff. And I say that about everybody that I have on because it's true. Every guest that I have on does a really good job with their socials. But Grace does a really, really good job because she shares a ton of like uh holistic stuff, and she has a lot of really good talks that she just like is on her heart, and she'll just like talk to you
I'll
whoever's
just talk
listening.
about anything I want.
Yeah, and it really is good. And it's just a lot of good stuff, and I love like your kitchen stuff that you talk about. She'll share like really good like salad
Kitchen chats with Grace. I'll just hop
yes.
in on the kitchen when I'm feeling good and want to talk about anything health, wellness.
Yes, and I love that. So follow her definitely. And Grace does have a little giveaway that we're gonna run, so I'll let her tell us what that is.
Yeah, so it is my 4 weeks to total wellness challenge. And I ran this as a group challenge a few months ago, but I have all of the documents and I just think it's a really nice place to start if you want to start to align, like we talked about, mind, body, and soul. So each week we focus on physical, we focus on nutrition, and then we focus on the spiritual. And it's a really nice way to just start to take a step into more of an intuitive approach. It's not just me giving you like this kind of cookie cutter plan. It's really start to for you to find what habits and rituals really work for you in each of those elements. So yeah.
And here's why I like this too, because it's like PDF documents that she's gonna send the winner. And I like this because I feel like some people get nervous with the giveaways to start like a 4 week program or something with somebody because they're not ready to maybe like, dive in with a coach one on one. And I respect that and I
Yes.
understand that. So here's why I
Yes, for
like this
sure.
because Grace is going to give you the documents and she'll be available if you have questions and things like that.
Exactly.
But you can do it at your own pace. You never have to speak to her if you don't want to. If you're
Nope.
not
If you
ready,
just want
yes,
the documents and you just want to read about it and learn, I love that.
yes.
And I
So
respect that.
yeah, and I totally do too. So enter to win. Why not? It's good information, and yeah. So details on how to win that are going to be on my Instagram at Big Girl Talk Radio. It'll be the same thing as always. Follow me, follow Grace. So yeah, Grace, thank you for your time. I
Awesome. Thank
love
you.
having you on. I know I'll have you
So
on
much
again
fun.
next season because I know
Yes.
your journey is going to evolve into
Oh
something new
yeah.
that I'm going to be like, I want to learn more about that. So, yes. Yeah, thank you so much and I'll talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Sounds good. Bye bye.